So, my dear Gemini, the sun is in Pisces. And I gave Pisces Osho Zen Tarot. Each zodiac sign, each major arcana has their own deck. And so here we see the past lives. And I think Pisces wants to tell you sometimes have a look deep down into your past lives, because Pisces is ruled by Neptune. And so here we see in our dreams sometimes information that might come from a past life. Then of course the sun is giving the light to the moon, which is in your sign right now. And you got the Light Seer Tarot, and we see here this couple holding on to each other, particularly her holding on to the dark. It's very interesting because usually she's the dark and he's the light. And so here we have the number 6, which is self-love. And here we have the number 18. And of course the 10 is the Wheel of Fortune, and the 8 is the strength of that infinite coming and going that we had and will have. So then when we calculate the 18 together, we get the 9, and the 9 is the completion. The 9 is then I have realized what it's all about, right? I have come to a really powerful place in the number 9. Now I work a lot with numbers because numbers don't lie, just that you know. You are ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is the planet of information, but also the planet of language. Know that a sign is quickly understood than sentences. And so I think today we are gonna get a glimpse into what's going on in your life, because the Hanged Man is also getting ruled by Neptune. And so we're gonna look as an overall message, as a vision into the Hanged Man, and I'm using the Creativity Oracle for that. But just that you know, for Pisces the yoga position is fish pose, and the 2 salamanders that are guarding the portal here, the knowing and the not knowing, is here the downward and the upward facing dog. And so just that you understand the tarot yoga meaning, that I am including a lot of the yogic principles here in this reading. You get the most difficult pose, and it's King Pigeon pose, reaching back to the feet. And the interesting part is your feet are the subconscious, right? The body part for Pisces are the feet, and the body part for you are the arms. And so you reaching back into the feet here is quite a circle, it's quite a stretch, right? Backwards, opening yourself up to this love. And so this is the position that would benefit you the most. And so here we see these 2 energies coming together, sun and moon, today. I really do the reading exactly on the day the moon is in your sign, so that I get that energy, I get that feeling. And when we think about that, it's only once a year that this moment happens. But if we include all the other planets, then this happens only once in your life. You are the court card, the Knight of Swords, which is between May 10 and June 9th. And so it can be that you are, as a major arcana, Gemini here, the Lovers, but here you are actually not the Knight of Swords, but the King of Pentacles, or the Queen of Cups. Have a look. I have listed, of course, all of my cards below with the dates and also what it means when I pick the card on their position. So here you're running towards the motorcycle. You're really fast in the way you think. You are the messenger. You are the third house of communication and also of interaction. You are a born talker. And so for you, it's really important to have a good conversation. Be careful that you are not talking too much. Let the other one say something as well, because you might actually learn something. Back to the last reading where we had Aquarius Sun, and it was a second reading. You already had a reading in Aquarius Sun, and so the second time it's more clear that Aquarius is really wanting to tell you something, right, through the Sun. Forgiveness is the highest form of emotional intelligence. So when we forgive, right, we arrive, we are then connected again to a higher consciousness. And it's important that we understand that, because the emotional intelligence is something that we cannot buy. We have it or we don't. And so that's a beautiful message, right? Good. We're going to look into the Hanged Man, because Hanged Man is connected again here with Neptune, with your dreams, and you are hanging upside down. And Pisces is the 12th house of spirituality and art. And so we're going to look into this creativity oracle that deals particularly about art, right? About how we become artistically more authentic. And so it's the perfect oracle for the Hanged Man. So let's see what is coming here. We get this beautiful picture. These cards are made of fabric, and so that's where the artist is actually letting us know that we can work with anything, right? Nature is the word, and the 72 as the number. So we have the 7. The emotional intelligence is coming here into this reading. The 7 is Cancer. So maybe you are more a Queen of Cups. And Cancer is the Chariot, right? Is that I go out there and there is one horse. There's the full moon. And just that you know, we are going to the new moon. And you see that in the front picture, I have an arrow that shows you where we're reading towards. We're reading towards your new moon. To the left, introverted. And to the right, then after your new moon, 6 months until the full moon, right? And so you get for 6 months, or you get 6 readings to the left, and you get 6 readings to the right. The 2 is the High Priestess, which is connected with the moon. Go out in nature as much as you can, for its pure creativity can teach you everything you need to know. Very simple, but very beautiful in the way then when we calculate them together, we get a 9. And the 9 is again here the completion. And it's very interesting. I was listening to this woman the other day, and she said, nature doesn't think. When we want to heal the mental body, then we need to go into nature, because nature doesn't think, oh, today I don't feel like opening my flower, right? Opening myself, or flowing like the river. I don't feel like it today. I'm going to stay still. Nature just does. Nature is in this rhythm, continuously evolving and changing and shifting. And so the 9 is letting you know that the completion is coming to you when you go out, right? The 7 is going out into nature, the Chariot. It's the summertime. And so the Hanged Man, which is connected with the Wheel of Fortune, the 10, and the 2, again, the High Priestess, becomes the 3. And so the 9 and the 3 becomes a 12. And the 12 is saying, yes, then you understand Pisces. Pisces is the 12th zodiac sign. It's the last sign. That's why it's down in the feet. The next reading is Aries. Then we're up in our head again. And when we calculate then here the 12 together, we get a 3, which is the Empress. And so the Hanged Man is saying, yes, go into nature. That's where you get the epiphany. That's where you get it. Whatever it is you need. You get inspired from nature, because nature is simply inspirational. Very clear, right? There's nothing to be thought about. So go out into nature. And so we begin the reading with the Fool. That foolish idea, that crazy idea, is actually a sad idea. And that sad idea is letting you know that sometimes going deeper within, right, these 6 months where you're going towards your new moon, slowly and gradually, we have an insight into also the way our emotions work. And you see 4 cups here standing and 1 cup to the right. And you are sad. You really are sad, because what's happening here is that you are actually quite fulfilled, but something here on a spiritual level is missing. And so this is connected with the constellation Mars in Scorpio, and Scorpio is always to recognize the depth of when we let ourselves fall into the flower of life. She's facing the left, but she's letting herself drop into the right. And this cup is facing the left as well. So we're going to have a look what's happening here, because the Fool is connected with Uranus. And Uranus is that new beginning, is that foolish idea. And so in your mind, you feel like there is something, right, that is actually giving you a little bit of a sadness. So don't push it away, accept it, look at it, go deeper into it, right? That's what we do in Yin Yoga. In Yin Yoga, we have the power to actually hold and see the emotions, and for that, validate it. Right? Don't push sadness away just because it's uncomfortable. Go deep into it and learn from it, what it wants to tell you. On the position of the Magician, we have here the 10 of coins. Now, the 10 of coins is a certain richness, and the soul is actually feeding this kind of richness. So the 10 and the 1 of the Magician creates an 11, and the 11 is the inner teacher that appears, the inner wisdom, the inner knowledge that you gain when you go deeper down into your new moon. And we are midway, right? We are having now Aries as the next reading, then Taurus, and then you get your new moon. So 3 more. So in 2 more readings, then you are really close to your new moon. But you're feeling it already. Something is making you more introverted, right? And so the knowledge is here. It's like the corn. Corn is gold for the Mayans, right? It was nourishment, it was food. And so again, nature is telling you, yes, food is important. Food is giving us everything we need. And food is also giving us then the creativity for which we then get paid, so that we can eat. Now I wanted to know what comes here with the corn, because it's an oracle and it's the Fool that came up upside down. And so you see him here standing on his hands, the Amnamita Muscaria, a lot of symbolism here in this card. The sun that is setting or rising. I'm going to have a look. I sometimes don't know everything, but today I feel like I need to know where is the sun going here. The griffin vulture is here to bless the journey at the beginning of a new day, so the sun is rising. Great. Reverse, the fool fears looking foolish. Perhaps she fears failure or some other disappointment or the consequences of taking some risk or action. She worries about the future. Right? So here we have, of course, the Fool coming up reverse. So you worry about the money, you worry about something. And you do not need to worry, because now we get with the 11, 110. With the 0 here, right? And so remember again, the inner teacher is appearing and it's going to guide your way. It's going to guide you how to create, right, what you're creating. And remember, the magician is connected with Mercury, and you are ruled by Mercury, the communication. So the communication is that nature will provide, nature will give you to eat. Just recognize what's happening here, that you are in the reverse, that you are for some reason afraid maybe to take that next step. Okay, then on the position of the High Priestess comes here the Wheel of Fortune. So we have a 10-10 portal here, and the beauty is that we get with the 2 and the 10 a 12, and so the Hanged Man is coming up and letting you know, yes, everything is spinning, everything is turning, nothing stays the same, and you do not have to worry. Just allow to recognize what you have to do, what you need to do in your intuition. Let it flow, let it spiral, let it teach you to be upside down at one point when it's spinning, but the stream of consciousness is always there. Let it flow. Sometimes reversing ourselves is very helpful. So then we have, of course, here the 11 and the 10, so we have 3 times the 1 again. That's being more powerful through the 3 times 1. Then on the position of the Empress comes the Hermit, and that's Virgo. Virgo is connected as well with Mercury, and so the message is clear. Continue your path inwards. It's the introverted card, right? It's the 9, and the 3 is again the 12, and the 12 again is the 3. So you're giving birth to a new state of consciousness deep within you, and you need to allow to let this path that goes deep within to teach you about duality, about there is 6 months more an introverted path, and there is 6 months an extroverted path, the same way nature does it. And so the Empress is connected with Venus, and Venus is love and beauty, but also money. So the 12, the Hanged Man again is speaking to you. Go out into nature. Nature is teaching you everything you need to know. Nature is always helpful, right? Nature is the healer. And so recognize that. On the position of Gemini in the moon, but particularly Gemini. Gemini is letting you know the 10 of Wands. And the 10 of Wands is talking always about an oppression, a spiritual oppression. We don't have any other wands so far. But this spiritual oppression has to do with the constellation Saturn in Sagittarius. But as you can see, she's already walking down the mountain. She was up here and she realized something, because the 10 is the new one. And so the 10 and the 6 is the 16, which is then the Tower. And Tower is Mars. Mars is letting you know, love yourself so much that you are realizing now you need to come down and start this path of descending into the soul, into the dark. And the 7 is left. The emotional intelligence again will appear, and it's important that you do this. And that's what the moon is bringing you, a feeling, right? And maybe that's where this sadness is coming from. Right? Because you feel something deep down is talking to you. Then on the position of the Knight of Swords, which is in the center of the reading, comes here Leo. And Leo is the passion and the creativity and the lion, the number 8. You are the 3rd house, and so we have here the 11. The inner teacher is appearing again, and you gain the strength that you need to overcome anything, because the inner teacher is here again. Remember, the inner teacher came here with the corn and with the magician. And so you understand that everything has a meaning, everything has its power, right, to tell you something. And so here you gain strength by allowing the past to go deep within, towards a strength, an inner strength, right, that you are now ready to go down into. Then on the position of Pisces, Pisces is letting you know through the past lives. Here comes the 8 of Pentacles, and the 8 of Pentacles is connected with Sun in Virgo, and here the word is ordinariness. And usually it's the working card, right? It's like, oh, the more you work on yourself, the more you become a master. Well, look at him. He is the master in nature. And again, nature is talking. Nature is bringing you clearly, go deep into nature, and you start noticing, right, what is really important. And so the 18 turns into the 9. And remember, Pisces is the opposite sign of Virgo. And so we have here the 2 opposite signs talking to each other, right? Because Virgo gives the light to the full moon for Pisces and reverse. So we get the 9 here. The 9 and the 8 is the 17, which is Aquarius. And you had Aquarius a second time. Forgiveness is the highest form of emotional intelligence. And so here the 17 turns into an 8, right? And the emotional intelligence, again and again, recognize that. Recognize how important it is to be emotionally intelligent. And the 8 left is then an 8-8 portal, giving you the strength, giving you the power. And remember, here was the 7, right? The emotional intelligence came to you very strongly here by allowing now to let go and to really go down the path in the self-love. So here we have an 8-8 portal. Recognize that, right? See that. Then on the position of the moon as the dream oracle comes here the Feast of Plenty, choices and their consequences, the number 20. And the 20 is the last judgment, is your calling. It is your calling now to go deeper into this card and have a look at it and see the 2 swords, and you are connected with the swords. So there is a relationship, there is a crystal, there is a bee, choices and their consequences. So what choices have you taken? Because the 20 and the 9 is again an 11. The inner teacher appears because when we take choices, then we know deep down that I at least have taken them, even though they were wrong, but at least I took them. And so this feast of plenty there is something strange about this card. I have not realized yet what it is, but there is always something where I'm like, what is going on, right? And I want to know, of course, what is coming up here, and we get the world to the right. And so the world is literally saying, have a look, right? So if this circle could be here, the world, and it's facing here the ordinariness. And so the feast is actually maybe not really something so great. And the world is actually having or feasting on this plenty, and the consequences is now coming towards us because nature is actually giving us quite a clear sign that we maybe did go a little bit too far. And so the 11 stays and the 21 becomes a 3. So maybe it's a date, the 3rd of November or the 11th of March, which happened already. But recognize that the world is talking here to you, and it's facing here the 8. Continue your craft, continue your work, and you see the world is dancing. And to the right, usually it's like, yes, you want to go out and you want to create things. But deep down, you feel like, okay, there is this, right, like this sadness that you're feeling because you're going more into the introverted. And also remember, you had here the Fool, this crazy idea, reverse. And so something is kind of like making you feel a certain way. And maybe it's because you're going to the new moon. Right? It's really interesting because it's always like, okay, we don't recognize that sometimes, that this is happening up in the sky, right? And so just notice. Then on the position of the sun comes here the desert. Just going to have a look here because I barely see the number here. The 43. So light. The 43 is then the Empress and the Emperor connecting. You see here 3 birds, and she's like in the sun, and the sun, the 19, is the 10 and the 7 is the 17, which is the star, which is Aquarius, and the sun is a dwarf star. So the star is literally again coming up and saying, yes, forgiveness is the highest form of emotional intelligence. Aquarius sun, a second time. So recognize that in the desert, right? Again, in nature, we are fulfilling something that is empowering us. And so you get here another 7, a 7-7. And you also had here the 7, and then the 9 and the 9, and here, and the Hermit, right? And so here, remember the nature, how important it is to be nature, because nature is teaching you, right? Pure creativity, and it teaches you everything you need to know. So we have here the 8 left. Again, you had 2 times the 8, now you have 3 times the 8. And I want to see what's coming up here, and it's the 10 of Swords, and the 10 of Swords is reverse, and the 10 of Swords is Sun in Gemini. And so here we feel that the 10 and the 10 is a 10-10 portal. You had the 10 in the corn. You had the 10 in the Wheel of Fortune. And the 10 again is saying, yes, your fortune is to understand things. Now, the 10 upright is here, the Thelma and Louise card. The women rather jump into the water than being captured by their enemies, and so this is a very intensive card, but because it's reverse, I'm going to have a quick look what that means. I hope it means they were not going to jump into the water. But hey, you know, if it means that we sometimes need to run away, then it means we need to run away from something, right? So here's the 10. Women leap into the ocean rather than face an army that invaded their sanctuary. Reverse, she moves on from what may have been a difficult struggle. She has pushed past her limits and has come through a sacrifice or loss. So actually it's a good thing here, right? And this is why you're here in the desert. And so the 10-10, it's also could be a 20, and the 7 is the 27, again the 9. And it's the reverse of the 72, the 27, right? Sometimes I love to have a look at that. But you understand, right? So the 10-10 and the 7 is letting you know you gotta really understand that there are certain things that are difficult, because this is connected with the constellation Sun in Gemini. And that's when you have your new moon. That's when you go deep, deep down into the dark. And so the last card is coming up here, which is the 8 of Swords on the position of the world. And that's connected with Jupiter in Gemini. So Jupiter, which is the grandeur, when you then have here this, right, then you understand, of course, the inner teachers appearing again, because it's the 8 and the 3. And so you have 10 swords and 8 swords, or 18 swords. The moon is creating this emotional energy that you're feeling, the sadness. And so here you understand now the connection. But the 21 of the world and the 8 together, right, the 3 and the 8 is the 11 again, and the inner teacher is letting you know, go deep into your new moon, because that's where you're going right now. And allow whatever there is to help you now to see the light, right? It's like that's what nature also does, because Saturn is ruling the world, and Capricorn, of course, right? And so here you are seeing the 8 and here the 9. 8, 9, right? And so know that nature is healing you. Know that nature is also dark. And so that's why we see the full moon. Otherwise we wouldn't see the full moon. So understand, right? Everything has a meaning. Everything is talking. And here it is, you going towards the new moon. And the moon is letting you know that, because the moon is the moon. And so you're going deep down and seeing into past lives and recognize certain sadness, certain emotional connections, right, with other zodiac signs. And remember the 9 and the 9, 2 times the completion, teaching you and letting you know you are arriving more and more at yourself, because you're going to have Sun and new moon both in your sign. And so the Sun is already bringing you here the Sun in Gemini, and then we have this. And so the 18 is clearly, yes, you are feeling it. You are feeling the fact that you are going deeper and deeper within. And it's not always pleasant, right? But remember, you have the best healer. And so use it. I hope I see you in the next reading. That's when we get the Sun in Aries. Until then, I thank you so much for being with me. Namaste.